The first tap of a conductor's wand. The first rivet in a mile-high tower. The master link at the genesis of the never-ending chain. The moment a single empty canvas meets a singular master stroke. There is no one thing. Because now, there are many. Because soon, there will be more. Because one is ever the beginning. Like the first link in an infinite chain, or the first rivet in the tallest skyscraper. The master stroke is found in the masterpiece. What will you begin?
Good morning and welcome to World Blockchain Roundtable. This is episode 126, Dictatorship of the Majority as a Threat to Decentralization. Let me get into introducing our host for today. Joining me, we have Joe Dragon.
Hello.
We've got Satoshi Shan. And we've got Greg from Rivet joining us today. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Hope you're having a fantastic one. A little bit of business to take care of from last week. Each host from last week is going to receive 330 lot. Each topic contributor is going to receive 111 lot. Last week's theme was Dark Web, nominated by Darox. He will receive 111 lot for that. As a reminder, these ownership tokens come with perpetual passive income, free edits, and governance votes. And let's take a look at what we have for theme suggestions for November. Our theme suggestions for November. What do we got in here? What if a small island nation swapped their flat currency for a blockchain-based currency? Sounds cool. It sounds like you want to play The Sims. That's what it sounds like. It sounds great.
I could see if I could have a special guest for that. He's trying to make the Cook Islands switch to digital currency.
Ooh, that'd be fun. Cool.
Hopefully the Wi-Fi doesn't go down on the island.
They just got it like 2 years ago. It's like a big deal to him. He always talks about that. How they got Wi-Fi on the Cook Islands.
Nice.
We got Jacob waiting in here. I think there's a question in here. That's a reply to the previous one. Okay, got it. Yeah. We've got how to use blockchain to fight against censorship. Sounds great. If you tune in every week, we probably talk about that at least for half the episode. It's great, and I think it's we could talk forever.
Man, I am just killing it. Look at that.
Yeah, using blockchain to ensure accurate fees and fair elections.
Free.
Oh,
yeah, you are free. You must be tired.
Free and fair. What did I say?
Accurate fees.
Oh, right.
And for fiat,
hey, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, this is a Ticketmaster one.
For fiat money, you said flat money.
I don't know. I'm off my. Well, it's gonna be a great episode. That's all I'm saying. Can state laws stop CBDC play? Yeah, I don't know. That'd be really cool. I was really sad that bar closed. Just a legendary bar.
Yes, CBDCs.
Yeah, CBDC. Legendary bar.
Yeah, that is too bad that it closed.
I'm pretty sure. I think CBGB's closed. Even like pre-pandemic. I think it was like 2019 or something. I could be wildly wrong.
Whatever.
If you're in the chat, let me know if I'm an idiot. I would love to know. Cool. Let's see here. Upcoming 2024 crypto and blockchain projects. I don't know the last time we've done something like that. That was like, what's your favorite thing being built right now?
There's some really good ones
that's out
too.
There. Greg, I feel like you'd be like on top of that one.
This is literally what I spend my days doing, is finding the new ones and trying to convince them to be Rivet people. Yeah. So
the anniversary of CBGB's close is October 15th. So it's 2006. Patty Smith was the last show.
Appropriate.
I had part of my information correct. Knew it was closed, wildly wrong on when it did.
Well, it went out with a warrior.
There it is.
I am a warrior. You know the Patty Smith.
Yeah.
I promise we won't make you listen to us sing on this show. All right, what do we got next? Is that all of them? Yeah, that sounds great. Any of these that we're super excited for? Honestly, I think these are all really good suggestions.
They are all really good.
Yep.
I'm kind of excited about the CBDCs, which I know is weird, but it seems like there's a growing movement in the U.S. government, at least, to say no, this is bad.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of our successes as a space has been communicating that CBDC is not the same thing as crypto, and while one represents a degree of freedom we haven't experienced in a long time, the other represents the exact opposite.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The truth.
Yeah, sounds great. We'll get in there and vote. Let us know what you want us to talk about next month. I think you can keep putting in votes until like the end of the week. Is that right? Until Friday. Could be wildly wrong. We'll find out. Yeah. All right. Let's get into our question for this week. The theme of the week is dictatorship of the majority at the threat of decentralization. As I said, this is nominated by Darox. And let's get into that first question. Let's see what we got in this week.
All right.
All right. Question: how to protect the rights and opinions of minorities in a DAO reality? Joe, you want to kick this one off for us?
It's a lot of people will say that the DAOs have the issue, which is the topic of this show, that it is too easy for someone to acquire the majority of tokens, or at least a large portion of the tokens, and that leads to issues because minority holders, people who might be valuable but not large, they don't have a lot of money, let's say, to get the same position, are they're kind of put out. They don't have enough weight to have an effect, and it's too easy, even in the worst case, for someone who doesn't want that DAO to be a reality. Let's say, some large institution that it would compete with, or something. And so we've found, and we've demonstrated primarily with, like, say, with DinDAO, that behavior is a really good answer to it. It's not the only answer. There are a few other things you could do, but behavior means that, and it frankly, it's a really good security feature as well, because an attacker, the typical thing on any blockchain network is the financial measure of what that token is worth, because essentially, in order to take control of that network or of that DAO, I have to buy enough tokens, which is going to raise the price, which is going to get other people to notice, and there will be an effect that it will be harder and harder for me, unless I'm secretly doing it on thousands of addresses or something. It'll be harder and harder for me to get those tokens. But it's still not impossible, and especially with the way the markets work and how much manipulation there is, that people can acquire those numbers. And what we do is we apply part of the governance to behavior itself. So essentially, sure, you could get some power by accumulating a lot of tokens, but if you have those tokens, you still have to do all the things in order to compete, to have power in the governance system. Another piece is time, and that's also in combination. That's part of behavior. So you have to hold them long enough, but you also, like, say, in DIN, you effectively have to become a good evaluator, and you have to have good content, and you have to be a good actor on the system in order to get any real value in the governance system. So
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg, you want to add on to that?
Yeah, sure. I would say the biggest key here is, we've got systems already that are prone to this problem, right? We already have governance systems in the real world that that are prone to domination by tyrannical majority. And the best solution ever invented to this so far has been one of representativeness in governance, right? We have the system known as the republic, right, which is designed to circumvent majority dominance, right? Similarly, we have the ability to design DAO systems, right, to not just give bare majorities absolute control, right? We can design the governance mechanisms so that it's not how much voting power do you have, but how much voting power do you have relative to everybody else, and and the DAOs themselves can be designed to circumvent that, right? A great example is the time element of participation, right? If you're contributing a whole lot, but you don't have a whole lot of governance token in your possession, right? We can up those contributions. The other thing I think is important is the sort of the goodwill of the people who do hold a lot of voting power, right? For example, I can go in and I can domineer which topics I want to see in this show. A lot of times I refrain from voting unless my vote's needed to close one out. So to a certain degree, the majority holders need to be ethical majority holders. So there's an element of personal restraint that goes into preventing this from happening. We want to have good, diverse government systems, and the restraint of the people who have a lot of power because they've accumulated a lot of governance token is really important too, I think.
Sean, anything you want to add to that?
Well, first off, I would like to say that I think this problem is less as important as it used to be. I think because we seem to have went from mob rule being the biggest group, to the loudest group. You have a smaller group of people, but as long as they're screaming louder on Twitter and they're, they have the right connections to get the loudest voice out in the media, it seems that they're in control, So I think that just the existence of the DAO itself is an improvement on the situation that we're all living in today. But I think it's very difficult but it's been difficult to do for all of history. I mean, the creation of, a republic in the United States was one of the most radical ideas because it was trying to fix that problem. And even today, people get angry at the fact that we fixed that problem. It's like, hey, 0.5% more wanted this other guy or this other thing. And it's like, yeah, but 97% of Idaho didn't want that, and
yeah.
So it's I think the main thing is what Joe said. I was thinking time, but also like you said, there's no real way around that I can see yet of fixing things, because people can. I mean, you could do one wallet, one vote. Doesn't matter how much you have, but then someone could just take their 1,000 of whatever and have 1,000 wallets or 500 wallets, and then they would get more votes. But so I think time and I think punishment is something no one else said.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
If you are, if anything can link back to, you have to put something up to make your vote, and if anything can link back to, the same IP or that it was the same person, they could lose some money, or make it where there's a small cost with every vote. So if somebody wanted to use 1,000 wallets, they'd have to pay 1,000 times. there's not a lot of like
Right.
attractive solutions, but I guess there are things that we can try.
Gas fees, in a way, for example,
Yep.
make it so the 1,000 wallet solution to dominating a group that's dispersed is a lot more expensive.
Yeah, and that's why we've found that it's useful to make the penalties and the incentives in line with the goals of the project, whatever that project is. That, like say with Den, it's all about bringing better content and bringing better evaluations. And it's an interesting thing because we're using prediction markets to determine if it's a good evaluation for that community. So you might get a bad score because your thought of Linux is different than my thought of Linux, and all the rest of the group agrees with you. So I'm out of consensus, but that's how it's measured. And so effectively, it's neat though because sure, you can come and try to take over Dindao, but it's going to cost you a lot, and you're essentially going to have to do all the things.
Right, right.
So it's like, so
to a degree, right? Good functioning governance is the ultimate goal, right? So if someone is dominating the governance structure with their massive voting power, but it's functioning properly, and it's giving people the result that doesn't oppress minorities, then the problem is also solved.
And you think about it in a real world non-DAO context. We've talked about this before on the show. Imagine if your city was run somewhat like this, that you might have some people that can't pay as much in taxes as others, and you might have some people, well, I can pay taxes, but I'm too busy to go sweep the streets, right? It's actually kind of an interesting thing because if you came to some organic scoring that essentially someone who is keeping the streets clean on their own, we're not paying workers to go out and do this, they're getting credit and they have more of a say than they otherwise would, right? And I don't know, there's just a lot of stuff like that in there that could be pretty cool. And by the way, on the show, I do believe that Greg has the highest stake in the roundtable show, and he's at 13.88%, at least as of the last vote. So it's pretty good, distribution for roundtable, and we only do token alone in roundtable. I guess you would say that you only get tokens by behavior. So either being on the show or asking questions, doing other things, right? So.
Yeah, I've done it all by showing up.
Yep. Consistently, right?
You're not secretly buying coins behind our backs, Greg.
Nope.
So
no.
I have a question.
I've actually never sold or bought any of my tokens. So
show off. I get it. All right. So I had to buy all of mine. I keep losing mine in Ponzi schemes. No. So I have a question though when it comes to that. Do you think that having these protection and stuff like that for DAOs is going to increase or decrease adoption? Because what I think about is if you look at things that are like, the R word, like Reddit and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, it was the Wild West. You kind of you can make a thing about a stuff whenever you want. There's moderators, but who cares? Like that kind of thing. And then they kind of added rules, but not really. Like you have to have little social behavior scores, but whatever. Right. But like at the beginning, I don't think it was really like that.
They've kind of ruined Reddit with that.
Is that like the goal is to like, look, we're gonna just show up, we're gonna mine the hell out of your country, and we're gonna take over everything, and we'll worry about the rules later and making sure everybody's represented later. Joe, I feel like you got something to say to that.
Yeah, because I would say the two things. I think it'll increase adoption, or at least increase what I would consider to be real adoption, organic adoption. That if you compare our Web3 current state and the fact that we're not getting enough. And I don't want to say we're not getting any. We're definitely getting some traction, but we're not getting enough. You compare it to what came before Web 2 with Reddit and Facebook, and I would say specifically Reddit. It was all bots. It was the Wild West, but it was all fake, and it was all fake, and it was all fraudulent. While those guys were going out and getting funds, so it was the VCs defrauding advertisers and investors, and yeah, they were pulling in more users because the bots were making it feel active. So you'd go there to some subreddit,
like a dating site where you go on there.
Yeah. And so it was all fake. And so you think about it, it's a weird thing because so much of, and I didn't know that at the time, but I do now. And I know Facebook has had the same, Twitter definitely had the same. And it's an odd thing because there's so much fraud in the world, especially in those, in the VC world, that most of what we would like to be able to compare our current industry with, we can't really, because it's an unfair comparison, because with Web3, there are other requirements, typically, not always, to come in with where it's very hard to put bots in, and some of that. Now they still do. So you look at FTX and you look at what's happened on a lot of, thankfully, projects that have thankfully been eliminated. And you have a lot of the same, and by the way, you have the same people, the same people that were doing what happened at FTX and several of the other fraudulent crypto were literally the VCs that just saw, oh, here's an opportunity, and we don't even have to worry about these other issues that we did in the prior world. So, they're playing games and doing all that stuff, but in the end, and Den does it without, you don't have to make an investment. But we do put scarcity in there, and the scarcity is all based on time and based upon your reputation. So, I do think it will increase real adoption.
And I think another important one is a right of exit, right? The fact that there is a market-based mechanism to get out, right? You can dump your tokens on the open market and leave, right? And the obvious goal of these communities is to build something, right? So it's to the mega majority holders, right? Their interest is in growing this community. Otherwise, the value of their thing declines, right? So the fact that you can dump your share and ditch means that there's an incentive for even people who have a dominant share of governance tokens to govern the thing for the benefit of everybody and not just themselves. That's why. Even if I were so inclined, I would never go propose 4 topics where we talk about blockchain infrastructure and node infrastructure and nothing else. And that was all the show ever was, right? Was basically an opportunity for me to pimp Rivet.
Right.
Because it would destroy the show. Nobody would want to come. And everybody would exit. So the fact that there is that right of exit is one of the things that makes the decentralized approach powerful.
Sean, anything you want to add to that idea? If not, I got another.
No,
question.
I thought we all went over that question.
Cool. So I just like, because you were talking about bots and how Reddit used it to increase activity rate on their site and stuff like that. Would it be like against Den rules and I guess maybe some kind of Web3 ideology rules to be like, look, we're going to put in a bot, but we're going to tell you it's a bot. We're going to be like, hey, look, this is here just to like, this is that takes on the personality of X. This is the Joe Dragon bot, not Joe Dragon. I forget the name of the icon, dude. But whatever it is, like Jojo. This is the Jojo bot. That's that's just here to be like, I don't know. It's also kind of fun to talk to bots.
Right. Agreed.
So like
bots
putting
are
that in
not
there,
inherently evil.
Yeah, putting that in there would increase traffic, maybe not traffic, but at least like conversation, especially conversation where like it was a zero on like certain topics to begin with.
Right. Let's say it goes to Chat GPT once an episode, and the bot asks questions based on the topic, using Chat GPT to get the best questions back.
Yeah, that would be a bad idea.
I think it'd be cool to see it in like where like people post stuff and nobody's responding to it. Be like, oh, we want to kind of like increase activity on these just so they get noticed too. Because sometimes people post something really cool and then like everybody misses it because they posted it at 1 a.m. My time, so nobody noticed it because everybody functions on my time. And then like,
and does the bot get money for it? Do they get tokens? And then when the singularity happens, do they get really pissed because they didn't get tokens? And then
it could go to like a burn wallet or gets reinvested back in the community.
We've had a philosophy that theoretically it shouldn't matter, that it will still have to compete, right? So, and it's all prediction markets. So if you produced a bot that happened to be really good at providing content for, let's say the history layer, or let's say the memes layer, right? It should entirely be fair game that a bot could, that maybe the bot could answer better than you could, the creator of the bot. And we do have some mechanisms in there where some of the things that people could do that would be maybe that would skirt the rules a little bit. That you can declare that this brand account is also you, so that it's not you don't get penalties for several things that the system could see if it's legitimately done, but we don't want people obviously creating bots in order to try to game the governance and stuff, right? But they would still have to compete with the same rules anyway. So there are a lot of interesting built-in things that protect the system. So.
I would personally love to have a bot that would, on platforms that I'm on, engage as if they were me, right? So that my engagement can be up everywhere while still not betraying what I would post.
And without having an intern. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, interns are the original bots, kind
of. We could do something interesting. We could say before, like let's say I don't know what the next topic is next week, right? But we could go ask ChatGPT for 3 or 5 questions, right? And we could put those on Eternal, right? So we know what it and then we can see what the community brings. And if anybody matches what the bot said for a good question, maybe they give them extra something. I don't know.
Right, like you said the secret word kind of thing.
That's pretty fun. Yeah. Are you a robot? Did you ask the same question as a robot? Great. The next question comes to us from Derox again. If people are psychologically manipulated, then neither decentralization nor democracy can work efficiently. From what spells must mankind first free itself to reach a state of mind that allows it to make rational, fact-based decisions? Greg, you want to kick this one off first?
Yeah, sure. So, one, I would say that one assumption that a lot of people make is that democracy and liberty are coherent together, and they're actually kind of self-resisting principles, right? A pure democracy has never really survived history, right? You see it with ancient Greece. Like these are some of the worst tyrannies ever, right? I think one of those spells that we have to free ourselves of is the idea that a perfect democracy ultimately promotes decentralized liberty. And that we need to build systems that to a degree circumvent pure democracy, and that and if we want rational, fact-based decisions to be made, that pure democracy is a conceit against that.
Yeah, democracy sucks.
That doesn't suck. It just isn't a liberty promoting idea.
Oh, I wasn't saying that as a joke.
Yeah.
It's democracy is a lot of work for people to do. And when it gets to the size of the amount of people, it works well if there's 10 people, right? It doesn't work well with the scale that we're at.
Communism works wonderful in a commune.
Yeah.
It works wonderful if there's no money to be had.
That
right?
too.
I mean,
Right.
once there's money in there, even with 10 people, a couple of them are going to be working behind your back to get some of that.
Right, well, I mean, the ultimate ideal democracy, right, is one where everybody has a dollar to spend, and what they spend it on is how they vote, right?
Yeah. Those are the most, how do I say, the most effective forms, because you have the friction or pain or scarcity involved that's necessary. So people have to make a decision. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, the news people told me we want this war," but really, I don't think I want this war. I got kids that are draft age, and I was like, "Why? I don't want a war." So no, right? But if you don't have that dollar there, somebody might just, "Sure, I'm going to vote on it. It's not my money anyway. Who cares?"
Right.
Sean, what do you think about democracy when it comes to blockchain and manipulating people? I guess is really the core of this question.
I agree. I think what everyone said, but I think that's why we're at such a problem now, is that people are so easily manipulated. And one of the reasons is because of democracy, I guess. I mean, we've allowed government to educate us and our kids. Something I really advocate for people to say, instead of public schools, you say government schools, because that really is what they are. And the ease at which you can just change history, and change it a little bit, and like how we have, or we look back, it's the American Revolution, whereas like in Britain it was the uprising of the colonists. It's a there should be like a standard, when it comes to education, because that's one of the reasons why people are so easily manipulated, is because they're kind of taught to be manipulated, taught to believe this group, and then they can't make rational, fact-based decisions when they've been taught that these facts aren't real.
Can I say also that, I mean, all you have to do is look at the real history of Athens, and you see that, and everybody knows this too, but the demagogues, the ones that literally manipulated the populace in order to ostracize somebody, or to attack whoever the demagogue's rival is, were so obvious. And that's everything. That is, it's basically down to a crazy efficient science now, that all you have to do is establish, or even create some event out of thin air that will lead to people separating, to decide. All you have to do is separate the people, and you can control them, because you can always control both sides. And they do this. They have controlled opposition is a real thing, and one only looks at the events in the past week or so to see that a lot of this stuff is happening right now, and people who were in full agreement last week about how the government shouldn't be sending money to one place somewhere overseas is now all of a sudden up in arms that I can't believe you wouldn't send money to these people. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of crazy, but that's what it is.
Right. They send what, lethal aid was how they called it.
Lethal aid. Yeah. Yep.
I'm still a proponent for the mom council. So I'm still trying to work that one through. Haven't convinced many people. I think it's a good idea, wholeheartedly. So we'll see what happens. I think that's one of the interesting things too, when like you're trying to come up. I think we've all at some point had to create some kind of rule system for governance for something, and I've had to do that in the past for things, and that had to be like one of the most difficult things because you're usually building that with other people, and you end up getting an elephant a little bit. You end up getting a little bit of everything, and be like, this is what we're going to use, and we hope it doesn't break. Because like trying to create the perfect system for people which are complex and completely different from one another is difficult, damn near impossible, right? If not possible. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. We have one more question. If we want to take a look at it real quick, there's one more question in there.
I don't even know if it's actually a question.
I am for Am wants to know, is this going to be a good show? Sean, I'll let you kick this one off for us.
Yeah, I think it will be pretty good.
I've been waiting the entire show to do that joke. I don't know. That's going to be subjective. Joe, do you think this is going to be a good show?
I think so. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. I think it already has been. I got to. I've been rating this show on how many opportunities I've gotten to throw rocks at the concept of democracy, and I've gotten in a couple good hucks there. So it's a good show from my point of view.
Perfect. Yep.
There you go. I think that's like the important, like, I think people like undervalue also like how good it is to have the minority have a voice, just so you remember why you do the things that you do, right? Like you want your minorities to be able to shout and kick and scream, so we can remember why we have the rules in place and why we're doing the certain things we're doing also, or else it becomes tradition for tradition's sake, and then tradition over time just becomes a cult.
Right. Well, there's a quote that I'd like to throw out there that is my third rock that I'll throw at democracy. Right. Democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what's for dinner. And liberty is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote.
I like it.
I think one of the questions like answered itself about why we need to have that minority protected is because the masses are so easily psychologically manipulated. So that's why it doesn't work.
Yep. It's almost like even what Greg mentioned with the ability to exit is an interesting component there, because you can have agreed upon, if I'm coming into it and I'm a minority participant, but there are protections where I'm not going to be screwed just because I don't have, more than 5% of the vote, that the ability, it's actually even for the majority a positive, because if they can't make happen what they want to happen because of the protections in a minority, they are free to leave. They're free to, even fork the project and have a different philosophy or something. But
well, we all talk about, we've seen it with elections. I mean, it's not a level playing field, because the Libertarian Party never is up there with debating, right. And that's like the one thing that John wanted to do, is just, if he's there and can present this stuff and make them have to answer these questions about it, or just have people, I never even thought about that. That's money is important. What?
For what it's worth, too, that quote, by the way, is not Ben Franklin. If you look it up, you might see it misattributed. It's actually probably from James Bovard, who wrote a book called The Destruction of American Liberty. But the quote's often misattributed to Franklin.
And what Sean describes is an obvious element to how broken the system is. That the ideas don't get, that's what matters. It's like you can go by personality, and you're going to have people who who rise up high even though they have freaking no philosophical fundamentals in what they're saying. But I even think that that should be part of it too, though. That personalities and ideas should all be if we want a good, efficient governance system, you want to make sure that ideas that are dumb and great have the chance to bubble up, right?
Right.
If there's no chance to bubble up, then because a lot of times it's the ideas that people bring in thinking, oh, you might think this is stupid, but what about X? And those are typically the brilliant ones because no one else is thinking of them. And a lot of times it's because people might not because they're not thinking of them, but they might also think they're stupid and not have the courage to bring them to light, right?
Right.
So,
well, I mean, and exit itself in that way can be a political act. A well-designed government system would highlight, like if you were to exit a DAO and that were to come with a signing statement, right? I am leaving because of.
Yeah, that's true. A good exit interview that would be
right. Right. I mean, if I were to suddenly throw down my tokens and quit, if that were hidden from people, it wouldn't be an effective form of political action, right?
Yep. Yep.
Also, our system is so broken, and I've been saying this for a long time, that it doesn't matter who the candidate is anymore. It used to matter what religion they were, or how are they cheating on their wife, and what are their hobbies. Now it's just the party. I mean, there's the votes for a while. Things have been shook up, and that's something that's so crazy is that both sides are like, these 8 people here are causing chaos. It's like they're just not going along with what it should be. There should be like 10 different groups of 8 people that are that should be a real debate. It should be a real there should be people that it's like, I want coal. I'm from Pennsylvania. I want to destroy the ozone, and I don't care because I want to make jobs for my people. Whether they're Republican, whether they're Democrat, whether they're independent, everyone should be representing the people where they live. It shouldn't be we all we hold the party line. Whoever came up with that phrase should be shot.
Yeah. Oh, they're all controlled. The thing that I think I've noticed, like, say, if you remember in the 80s when was Gary Hart, right? That was caught with
yeah, I always talk about that.
And now that's like whatever. Now it's the stuff that you don't know. That that's so odd that this person voted that way. It's like,
yeah.
What do they have on that Supreme Court justice? They have something on them.
I feel
right? It's probably pictures.
Did you guys ever watch The West Wing? I love that show. I don't know if people watch that, but at some point, the president of the United States basically gets the yips and sees a therapist, and he's like, he can't sleep and stuff. I'm like, what if we just made like every elected official have to have an actual therapist, and every week they have to talk to them, and like, I get that like a good amount of them are probably so narcissistic and self-indulged that they believe the bullshit they're selling, but at least they've got to sell it consistently, and over time that kind of wears on you. Imagine like us catching like just in light of things like people kind of losing their mental intelligence and their wits because they're having to consistently check in with somebody who's a licensed therapist every week, and their sole job is to make sure you're all there, and you're not maybe morally corrupt to the point that you can't fake it in a one-on-one session with a person. I don't know. What do you think about that? Does that solve anything, or is that just kind of like?
That was actually a comedy movie from like the 60s. It was called The President's Therapist or something like that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would say they all. I would be willing to bet that the vast majority of them that hold any level of power definitely have handlers. Every freaking celebrity that is of any high level has handlers, and we know from some of the events in the past, I think it was the past year, that those handlers like threaten them with shooting them up and putting them away for a while and doing whatever else, right? Like they're controlled, and if you don't think our politicians are handled more than the celebrities, you're crazy, because they definitely are. And I don't know who they are, they. And you watch Mitch McConnell and how he's handled when he freaking froze up. He's like, oh, that's the handler. They're they're grabbing a certain. It's like that's all real. It's crazy. They're all controlled. And so you think about it, democracy, yeah, right. It's freaking controlled, and you might as well think of it as an alien race that's controlling our government. But it's really there. There's somebody behind all that shit that has all of the pictures of them with little kids and or whatever the hell else they've done that would get them lynched, and that's what's controlling them. Why is Lisa not here?
There's a difference between a press secretary and a handler, and that line tends to get blurred at some point. But I
think the press secretary has a handler. So they all do.
They've all got the person that they're like, I know I don't want to get a phone call from this person. But like, I don't know, that'd be interesting if there was like a psychological evaluation, a weekly or at least
if it was public. I'll tell you what, if we wanted a real transparent republic or democracy, whatever the hell you want to make this, if you wanted to do something like that, it should be transparent. So should every freaking lunch they have. It should all be recorded, and maybe certain things could be held for a while, but put on chain so that, okay, this is going to come out in 6 months. It's not going to come out now because there's some strategic issue in negotiations or something. But why not freaking record the stuff and then make it public, right?
I think there's something to like the anonymity and like that, like having something being like, hey, I know that this is going to stay between us, so that way they can talk about real issues and work through them in a healthy way. So like not making a republic, I think would be good, but I think the therapist should then have like, I have a duty to my client so that they are not a danger to themselves and that they are not a danger to like others, which is
so they like tell
voting.
Syria that we're going to bomb them. I have an obligation to tell you.
Well, I mean, because here's the thing. There's the biggest issue, John. I don't know how this would work, right? But the biggest issue is that there are laws that require those therapists to report certain activities, especially child abuse. And most of the stuff that would come up would somehow be underlying with that. There's like, well, I have to bomb Syria. It's like, well, why are you bombing Syria? It's like, oh, because they have pictures of this particular thing that happened. I'm going to have to do it. And then they'd have to report it. So
great. Yeah. So that's my point. It's like they could only lie they could only keep a straight face for like so long. Imagine having
actually therapists are the easiest people to lie to. They are. If you,
I think a good therapist is probably harder though. I think a bad therapist, yes. A good therapist, they can probably see through a lot of things. I don't know, like a good hostage negotiator can see through a lot of things, because that's essentially what a therapist is. It's a hostage negotiator, and you're fighting yourself. I don't know.
Well, I am joined late. We got through your question.
It was a good question. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to. I was worried we weren't gonna have time to get through all the questions, but I'm glad we did.
Well, they inspired me to have Dolly 2 generate this background that I'm currently displaying. Black helicopters flying in formation. So
I think the on-chain thing is important, and because there's so many things that people don't know, like basic things. They're like World War II. Like I brought up, it was technically a religious war. People think the Aryan race is just blue-eyed, blonde-haired people, and they were Atlanteans. That's who they were. That's who Hitler was searching for and wanted, was the Atlanteans. That was this master race that was lost, but then they went out and their genes are all over the world. Before he really took power, he still got funded all these research projects where he sent people to the Himalayas and to different parts of the world, and they took like like accurate, like super accurate physicals of individuals there, and they found to where the Aryan or the Atlantean characteristics were most prominent. Crazy stuff like that. That was the start and the reason for all of it, and they don't ever.
I don't think
like
the reason was that. I think that's been brought into it. The reason was the banks wanted wars.
Well,
they wanted money,
and also
they made it happen.
Nobody talked about how we were going to go side with Hitler, which we were going to make a secret pact, the North American thing, us, Mexico, and then Canada.
Well, in a way, we kind of did.
Canada told on us, told everybody, hey, America's thinking about doing this. And then we were like, oh, no.
Irony today.
We're not going to do that at all. No, if we don't like that guy. And that was one of the biggest reasons why we joined the war. But nobody talks about that. Canada called us out because we were trying to do something behind the scenes.
Well, history is written by the victors, right?
Yeah.
So that
didn't exist.
None of that stuff was good. I mean, we allied with Stalin, and if it were not for the counterpoint of Hitler, Stalin would have been that would have been a horrible historical situation for us. It's like we sided with Stalin. How many people did he kill? I don't know, 12 billion, 16.
I don't know if we can really call them people, like.
Yeah.
That's probably how they would have responded.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and now Canada,
it's all bad. War is bad. War is bad, and it doesn't matter what kind of propaganda you have to say, oh, but that guy was really bad. And so we were good to go and kill all of those people. It's like, no, not really. Not really. None of that was good. It was all bad. And it's banks, by the way. It wasn't anything about, if I was like, the blue-eyed blonde, it's like, no, it was the banks wanted a fucking war because they had destroyed the economy already, right? So
right. The German economy was devastated by our response to World War One, right? Our response to the end of World War One.
Yep.
And they hyperinflated their currency as a response. But then again, like if you look at what we did after the war, we kind of did ally with the Nazis, right? Like we brought Wernher von Braun over, and
we did
Paperclip. Anybody wants to find out about Operation Paperclip, it's public now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like we gave this a slap on the wrist to so many people, and the main thing is the civilians, technically, like the captains of industry who made billions of dollars off of slave labor that Hitler gave them. And those companies are around today. I mean,
but you think about it too, though. You look at the companies today. You look at Nike. You look at Adidas. You look at give me Apple. Like how many trillions has Apple made on slave labor? Answer me that. And how's that any?
Well, I mean, it depends on whether or not you consider
that were killed and died working for the.
You don't think people are killed and die in China?
Not in the numbers that they were.
It depends on
the war. It was pretty bad.
I don't
know. It depends on whether or not you see low wage work in assembly factories as slave labor, or if you see it as a step up from rice paddies, right?
Is it a step up? I get to live in a city. And I have nets to protect me from falling off these heights also.
Cities aren't all they're cracked up to be.
I mean, it's like I guarantee they know that there's organ harvesting over there. There's human trafficking. It's all related to the money that comes in from Nike and Apple, right? I used to joke with our engineers
what makes
whenever
that different from here.
That is true, right? There is definitely some evil going on here too.
Right. I mean, we have literally folks like Klaus Schwab, whose dad, by the way, was a prominent industrialist in the Third Reich, arguing for public-private partnerships, which, if you look at Mussolini's definition of fascism, was essentially public-private partnership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We haven't really shaken the Nazi impulse in modern society at all. In a way, fascism has gone underground, but also become a dominant system.
Well, you know, we can always just kind of hope to do a little bit better as we go forward, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it is, you know. 1 step forward, 12 steps back, but at least we're not 13 steps back anymore. You know, we're
That's a
just,
good attitude. I like that.
yeah, AA does wonders. No, I'm not an AA, yeah, it's at least we're going for it a little bit, and like Greg, as you talk about a lot of the time, we're getting more of the tools to make things public and make things a little bit better for everybody else. You know, where how we are now is better than how we were hundreds of years ago. So hopefully we can keep that trajectory going before
Yep.
the planet.
Yeah, the poorest person today would be aghast at the circumstances they would find themselves in if they wanted to be, or if they could go back in time and place themselves as the emperor of Rome. Right, like they wouldn't have TVs, they wouldn't have refrigerators. They would likely die of diseases that you cure readily in this day and age. Like society is moving forward. The question is, what do we do with our progress?
And we're getting taller.
We're getting taller.
We're getting taller. We're getting taller.
So we can reach higher onto the tree to get that fruit, right?
Metaphorically and literally, we can reach higher. As long as we don't become Icarus, we'll be okay.
Well, and it is worth noting that that societies have lost time as well. We could very well in 20 years look back at today and realize, holy shit, we had refrigerators back then. It could happen.
Oh yeah, there's nothing guaranteeing the forward momentum of progress, right? We could lose it all. Backsliding in civilization is not an impossibility.
It happens a lot, especially in times like this historically, where you have, I don't think there's any confusion that we're going to see some type of a economic collapse with the amount of debt and the amount of printing that's going on and the amount of war. And it's
anybody who's old enough to remember having taken a shower or flushed a toilet in 1990 recognizes that the standard of living can decline.
This is true. Yeah, this is true. Showerheads have declined somehow, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we've done it to ourselves. And you can, by the way, drill that out.
They've done it to us.
Yeah. Well,
I'd say I've not done shit for that. Yeah. I would love for all of you guys to have the best shower pressure in the world.
Oh, I've got some pretty good shower
drive
pressure.
Any vehicle you want. But
I don't remember where I did it, but I published an article. Oh yeah, in the Den how-to layer. If you go in the Den how-to layer, you can find a post that I made about how to liberate your shower head from this tyranny. It's a step-by-step. It's very simple. I personally take all the tools needed to do it to every hotel room I stay in, and I'm like on the Apple seat of returning good showers to the people. I'm not kidding. I actually do this.
I love
it. The thing I do when I walk into a hotel room is take out my wrench, go into the bathroom, wrench off the shower head, and pound out the water restrictor with the screwdriver.
I love it. Yeah,
we don't have a lot of the restrictions that other states have when it comes to like that kind of thing.
Really,
I have a Darth Vader shower head with multiple settings.
That's awesome.
I bathe in the tears of the Sith.
That's horrible, man.
That's so weird. All right, cool. That's been it for this week's World Blockchain Roundtable. We have been talking about dictatorship of the majority as a threat to decentralization. Make sure you get in there and vote for our themes and our topics for November. We've got some great ones in there. I'm excited. I'm excited for next month.
One of these days, we need to reverse the structure and make it so that the least voted topics get picked, so that we don't have a tyranny majority going on.
We could take we could do, like, say, the top three. If it's a four week, we could do the top three as they are, and then the bottom one would be some other criteria, right?
Yeah.
You could
keep the tyranny majority from dominating.
Yeah. You could randomize all of it so that it's always just a randomly generated.
You could
set.
Oh yeah, Autocracy is a really great system.
On the other hand, I'm just hoping that we have enough topics every month. It's going great, so get in there and let us know what you want to talk about every month. Anything you'd like to plug, Joe, before we head out?
watch us again next week. If you are able, contribute to the legal fund, legalfund.dragonchain.com. That's the only thing that is probably I'm stressing about constantly. And I probably can't stick around for the current events. I apologize. I have a couple of things the family I need to do, so I'll probably cut out after this.
Okay.
Sean, anything you'd like to plug and let people know
about? Just the usual stuff. Check out our channel and check me out on the socials. And that was really kind of hoping that Joe would be around and talk about the occurrences that have happened.
Maybe I'll try for a few minutes. I'll see.
Greg, anything you want to let the people know about out there?
Yeah. If you go on to ChatGTP and you actually ask it questions about Dragon Chain situation, it's aware and will respond. I've got an article forthcoming on my mirror.xyz site. It's mirror.xyz/megatexas.eth. Go there and check out whatever's on my brain. I've written already on AI. I've written on some issues related to the tyranny of the majority. I've written on a lot of things, and I will continue to write on obscure, maybe blockchain related, but maybe not blockchain related topics. And one of the ones that's coming up is the history of oppression that's built into our regulatory system as it relates to projects like Dragon Chain. So check that out. It's all written with the help of ChatGTP. So GPT, I always do that backwards. Check that out. And then if you're building something and you're not sure how to proceed with it and you want the help of Rivet, we are there for people building on ETH, there for people building on Ethereum Classic, and there for people building on Polygon, with more to come. Probably Optimism very soon. So that'll be my pitch.
Don't forget to do the Lord's work and fix everybody's shower heads when you go into their shower, whether they want it or not. Some people might like a slow flow, but who cares? They're living like peasants.
Turn that shit on. It should blow you out of the shower. Seriously. It should be like Maiden of the Mist, right?
Exactly. I want the massage setting to actually be a shiatsu and not just some like...
Right, exactly. It should be like getting punched in the face by an angry Asian.
Yes, that's what it is. Very specific. All right, great. Next week's theme is not financial advice. So if you want to not get any financial advice, come to talk to us. I will have lots of things to add that are not financial advice. So come and check it out. Don't forget to share this episode. The more you share, the more our hosts and our contributors will get. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you want to talk about. Come say hi in the chat. We're always reading. We always got it open. And stick around for current events after. See you next week.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, raw capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible. But that conclusion is laughable, so with for all detachable from the mandible. You see it now?
I can stick around for like 10 minutes maybe. So cool. I have to get it around.
I got to get off so I can give my wife the computer. She's been using my desktop for work, which is great because it's better to work on.
Right. Well,
but then
tyranny of the majority in action.
It's more like tyranny of the person who's employed. So it works out great. But fun show. Thanks everybody.
Take care
and have a good week. See you next week.
Right on.
Cheers.
Are you guys okay if when I leave that you'll be able to keep going or
I'm sure we can come up with something.
Okay.
So what do y'all think about maybe the best intelligence gathering country, not knowing anything about fellers on motorcycles and those little aircopter things that you can build with a lawnmower, coming in and just killing people like crazy?
Jesus. Yeah, I think it's an embarrassment, not just of one side or the other on this issue. I think it's an embarrassment for both sides, right? How this has been handled. Everybody has been so quick to shove this into a narrative box that that the death associated with it has not been properly humanized, right? We have focused on trying to spin this one way or the other, and in so doing have sort of, I think, dehumanized the people who are victims of it on both sides.
That's what they do constantly, though, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, it's I don't know. You just have to kind of stand back and think about that. The intel gathering capabilities that they have, they're
probably
freaking
knew.
in our stuff. You don't think they knew? You
I
don't
think they
this
knew.
was- yeah. You don't think this was just just like Pearl Harbor, just like 9/11, just like Gulf of Tonkin, just as a
Gulf of Tonkin.
there's a purpose that they want to get to, so they either prompt or let happen something that will let them do the thing they want to do. That's what the game is. And the only difference is that it was I'm not going to say anything about it, but it's
Right. Well, there are two sides of this tragedy, right? There are the obviously vile murders of people that happened in this action by Palestinian radicals, right? But what inspired that? Years of violence against those same people.
Well,
like there's
and
nobody's hands are clean.
I've been thinking about that for a second. All ever since it happened, and how black and white and not black and white these things are at the same time. Same with Russia invading Ukraine. Black and white, completely wrong. But look at what led up to it. Oh, it's the expansion of NATO, all these things that we broke, all these promises that we broke, all these things that we did. That if Russia did them, like they just wanted to put the missiles in Cuba, and we were going to blow the world up. They literally have been put in the same position, but black and white. It's completely wrong to do that. I mean, Palestinian people have been, shit time. But what they did was completely evil and completely wrong. So how complicated it is that it's black and white and then not black and white at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I say the thing that kind of it bothers me a little bit is the propaganda. It's like decapitated babies, whatever. I don't believe that for a minute, especially after what we've seen the past decade. But ISIS was a creation of the West. That was not an organic thing that happened to. You can't tell me that any of that was real.
Right.
I mean,
murder drone
real,
strikes.
But it was
this resulted in it.
And the thing that kind of bothers me is that you have this stuff. They've been fighting each other for a long time. And you can go into a debate about whether Zionism and taking that land in the first place was right or wrong, right? But when they go in and they steal houses from people, even in the more recent, not just in the 40s, they go in and they take over neighborhoods and they either destroy the houses or they just kick the people out and take them over, and because they're a democracy, and we're back into this the question of a democracy, which is typically not real either, and I don't know much about it.
And in this case, the sheep are not well armed.
Right. And so you think about it, but on one hand, all of the American politicians, which by the way have some monetary reason for doing this, all the American politicians are calling one side out as terrorists and the other side out as they're just citizens, they're just civilians, and I'm like, the majority of the people being killed are civilians, first of all. And this isn't like some battleground in old Europe where it's just a bunch of farmland. They're like their neighborhoods and stuff that they're bombing. And I don't know. I think it's all pretty disgusting because they all get plugged into this thing where they're, they come out as, oh, this side's evil, this side's good.
Right. The bloodlust is nauseating to me, honestly.
It is sickening is a good word. It really is.
Yeah.
The thing that I keep coming back to is the Julian Assange quote, right? If wars can be started by lies, then peace can be started by truth. What's the
I guess.
truth here? What is the truth here? What's the real truth?
Yeah, we don't know because you can't trust our press, you can't
Yeah.
trust our leaders, and who knows?
I think there's one truth we can very easily see, right? It was I think it was Ludwig von Mises who said something along the lines of you can't stop war with more war, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it was the exact quote, but we can't respond to this with violence and expect the result to not be more violence. And it seems to be the trap that we're falling into already is to just you just do more of the thing that caused the attack to begin with. We've ignored the concept of blowback in all of our actions here, and and I would say that both sides are guilty of it. And I don't mean to sound like I'm saying both sidesism is the right analysis, but if the shoe fits, right? Like there is, to a degree, a resort to violence on both sides that has perpetuated more and more violence. And at some point, we've got to think, how do we break the cycle as opposed to how do we suppress one side and find the win?
I don't know what you guys think, but this is what from what I've seen, that they're trying to scare everyone with this. They're saying all the mass migration into Europe and into the United States and all of these people, they're there in your country now. They're not just in Palestine. They're not just, in this little section. All of those people are your neighbors now. It's they showed pictures and video on the news of 20 people. Yay, we killed a bunch of Israeli people. Like, they're in your neighborhood. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I saw there was some, I believe it was a congressperson that was saying there were over 1 million terrorists that have come into, and all these numbers. I'm like, okay, they're after what? Do they actually need more surveillance? Is that what they're after?
Yeah, I think that's what it is, because I saw someone said it was the next 9/11 is not going to happen in New York, or it's going to happen on Main Street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm surprised they're not saying that it's going to happen on Facebook, and therefore we need more censorship.
I'm surprised they're bringing up 9/11 at all. Everybody knows that it was a freaking contrived thing. It was intended and executed.
You know what's interesting about that I didn't think about till now? I've seen a lot of debunking that videos in my feed and coming out recently. In the past month. And I thought it was a little odd. But now it makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Think about who this advantages too. All of the people losing the argument over sending more cluster bombs and more munitions to the Ukraine seem to benefit greatly from this circumstance arising just now, don't they?
Yeah.
To me, that's a hell of a coincidence.
Yeah.
That just as people in this country were finally getting sick of sending death to countries across the Atlantic from us, there's this highly emotionalized situation where, if what has already happened isn't bad enough, they've been exaggerating it with saying things like babies are getting beheaded and rape is part of their military strategy.
Yeah. You look at and I do need to go, but
suspect to me.
Very suspect. And the fact that they just want more war, and I don't know if it's because they're afraid of the dollar collapsing and they need to have an excuse, or if it's just another way to pull more money out before it does collapse.
Right.
I don't know.
They spent how long unloading all of our old munitions on the Ukrainians, and now they need another excuse to buy more.
I will say, and it hasn't totally gelled yet, because I've been mostly surprised at how quickly people were to flip. It seemed like a lot of people were, what? Why are we at war? Why does the government want more war with? Finally, after seeing hundreds of billions go to Ukraine, and who knows how much on the black
Right.
projects. But now all of a sudden, a lot of those people are flipped, and it's almost like they're it's 2002 and they're neocons, and we have to go after Iraq
Right.
now, right? It's crazy.
It's a great distraction from the fact that the last 3 months we've had our debt increased by $500 billion. You know.
Yep. Another trillion coming. I think by the end of the month, it's supposed to be another trillion. So
More than likely.
fun.
Yeah.
Get some of that money. All right. I have to go. You guys close out. You cool with that?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a bunch, guys. Talk soon.
Can
Cheers, man.
we?
Yeah. The producer is here, so
Okay.
it'll all be smooth. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Take care.
Yep. So, so we got a freeze frame Joe for a second. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, he was froze.
So another interesting side effect of all of this, Sean, I don't know if you noticed, is that the Israeli government has been dialing back its efforts to disarm its populace.
Who?
The Israeli government has taken steps to countermand some of its gun control efforts.
From what I understood, they had rather strict gun control,
That
which
they're
was
dialing back.
and that's something that a lot of the 2A community is talking about, is that the only thing these people could do is lock their doors.
Yeah.
And then those doors got kicked in, and everyone was raped. And
Right.
murdered.
And were they armed, this would have been a different story.
It would have been. I mean, probably not the music festival. That probably would have went the same.
Right.
But I mean, they had like 2 or 3 security guards that were shooting back, and they kept them at bay for like a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a big.
You got to imagine if every house broken into had a shotgun in it, how differently this would have gone.
Definitely would have been much different. I mean, I don't believe that they didn't know it was going to happen. There's just. If it was if it was any other country, like if it was, them going to Libya or something, okay, maybe, but not Israel. They're
literally they're the home base for all of the kind of scurrilous gray market services that we use to conduct illicit spying.
It's insane, and the restrictions on their intelligence gathering is way more, lax.
Yeah,
they can do way more.
They're in everybody's homes and heads.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense when it happened. The scale of it, and then the ridiculousness. People on their little copters that you can make from. I mean, it was paragliding in. Their Air Force didn't just. I mean,
shoot them out of the sky. Right.
One helicopter gunship, dude. Those things they fly like a few miles an hour.
Right. I mean, did the radar not pick them up?
Yeah. There's so many things that are just ridiculous. But I guess that's why the spectacle of what has happened has to be so.
Here's an interesting fact. As of November 2022, the Israeli Air Force has 36 F-35s in service. They have 5th generation fighters from the United States. And somehow these little whirlybirds were able to climb the fence and make it over.
The thing you have to realize is that in America, we don't understand how small the rest of the world is. Most of the continent of Europe can fit inside of Texas.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but a huge chunk of it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're not talking
Alaska, forget about it, right? It's like all of Europe.
Yeah. So when you look at what has to be patrolled, it's not even like our border. There's such a small area of the earth.
Yeah.
There's like probably corporations that own like land the size of that, and it doesn't make sense. So many things about it don't make sense, except that they just needed another war for more money. And then Iran all of a sudden is brought up. It's literally, but it's like, if you want news, just read the Bible. Just skip to the back. It's
Yeah. Oh yeah. Alabama can contain one Israel.
Really?
Yeah. The Hawaiian Islands from tip of the chain to tip of the chain, longer than Israel.
And Gaza is like 1/10 of Israel, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's literally, I mean, they call it the Strip, right? It's this
Yeah.
tiny little part of Israel.
It's like Rhode Island or something.
Right, exactly. It would be equivalent in size to Rhode Island if you stretched out Rhode Island and made it skinny.
Yeah, and we don't even think people don't even think Rhode Island's a state. Like it's a
Yeah.
state. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense that we didn't know.
Oh,
You know?
yeah. I mean, or that even whether or not anybody knew, when it started, it should have been immediately apparent, right? Like,
Yeah.
it wouldn't take much satellite processing time to spot that happening, right?
Yeah.
Especially considering how much they locked down that country, like with
Yeah.
surveillance. Like,
And that their wall is like, it was, as soon as it's cut, they would know.
yeah,
It's like so heavily patrolled. None of it makes sense. And people, I think because it's this shock and awe of how bad it is, that's why people aren't asking the questions. It's just emotion that hits you.
yep.
Just anger, sadness,
Yeah. Well, and it is sad. Like, I think that's the thing that people haven't taken enough time to even process is just how disgustingly nauseating human tragedy this is. Like, regardless of which side you fall on, right? These are human lives. These are people, just regular people who probably would prefer to be living out their lives uninterrupted and unmolested by outside forces. And you see this action happen, and it's action prompted by a lot of interference from outside forces trying to stop these people from just living their lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a violence begets violence situation, and we're already jumping to the defense of violence to try to stop it as a broader society. And to me, I think this is where we make the same mistake we've always made. We guaranteed another cycle of this already.
And I think France already has sending troops there and tanks.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, we had an aircraft carrier there faster than. I mean, like, it's amazing. It almost as if it had to be underway before before the thing happened for it to get there as quickly as it did. You got to wonder when it departed versus when this stuff happened. It's not something that we'll be able to find out, with a Google search, right? Because it's not something that you can find out about. But it almost seems like it was on the way there for how fast it arrived.
Yeah. I'm sure it's going to be a big part of the election too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, let us hope that that this doesn't benefit the monoparty in a way that that perpetuates what we've been dealing with, right? Like, and you've already seen it. I don't know if you've already noticed it being used as a pro argument for more online censorship.
No.
Yeah. There's already been a letter issued to X, Elon Musk's X, under the British Digital Services Act, trying to force X to take down, quote, misinformation and disinformation associated with the conflict.
I wonder if they're going to say, like, oh, they used WhatsApp to do this, they used Facebook to do this.
I'm sure it's coming.
Which we got to stop it. Although when they used it to sell kids and people, didn't seem to get that mad about it. It wasn't an outcry to censor it and
right. No, nobody seems to give a damn that like it's still that Facebook Messenger is still like the premier source of child abuse images that are circulating on the web. They didn't give a shit about that. They still don't, right?
Yeah.
What they care about is having excuses to argue for more spying, less privacy, and more censorship.
Yeah. I was watching some old. It was an old. It was like a Monty Python thing or something, and it was just, it was a recording, and then these commercial came up and from the news, and they were talking about this crazy surveillance state that they were putting cameras up around cities in Europe, and how that can you imagine that here in the United States? No, and it was, man, we
sadly, yes.
we
I can't
capitulated
imagine
quickly.
it.
We capitulated really quickly.
Yeah, people are. It's almost if people are primed to give away liberty as fast as they can.
Yeah, because they're for safety.
Yeah,
And
and they
fathers,
believe
man, they saw it coming. They saw it coming.
they did.
They always there's always a warning from them on anything bad that happens. You can look back and this one said that, this one said that. They knew.
Exactly.
Two-party system, any party system, they knew. Eventually, they would ruin it. And
So
simple,
yeah.
man.
On the bright side, I think there are probably more people this time out than at any time this sort of thing has happened in the past, already noting that neither side is deserving of a carte blanche here, that neither side of this is deserving of being painted with bad guy or good guy. And that really the problem is at its core, states authorized to do harm. Because that's to me, that's what it comes down to. If you ever really wanted to end this kind of thing from happening, then you would end the ability of state governmentalities to exact harm on others, right? That offensive capabilities of government are the problem. And that anytime you give them license to do it in any case, when it's not just defense of private property and private property rights, it just perpetuates this.
It's a good question here. Are central banks more powerful than the military-industrial complex?
Are they different things?
What does the military-industrial complex want? Money.
Right.
Where does that money come from?
Right. I mean, and the policies that central banks set are around preserving this notion of value for the powerful in the system, and who is the most powerful actor in this system, right? Military industrial complex is arguably one of them. I mean, especially if you add in the censorship and anti-privacy industrial complex as part of it, right? This is like a single one of the single biggest consumers of fiat-backed power politics, fiat-backed power, fiat-backed purchasing power, all of it. To me, they're the same system. I don't think you can look at this Hydra and say that head is a different animal.
I don't like where it's going. I don't like what I think is going to happen. It literally is. It's just like the whole situation really just disgusts me. It really does. What would happen? I'm like, well, they got their freaking war.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I see the ultimate suppression of dissent going on, right? These people were largely dissenters that were crammed into Gaza, right? There are people of Palestinian descent and origin who live in Israel proper who don't give a shit about having a culturally uniform voice in governance, that are just assimilated into the larger society. They're not dissenters. They don't live in Gaza. The dissenters are the ones who live there. This is power politics aimed at suppressing dissent and the blowback caused thereby. Right? It isn't hard to imagine a world where a federal takeover of the state of Texas forces all the dissenters into South Padre Island, and South Padre Island has a big wall and the government does its very best to keep people from coming in and out of it, and to limit the types of aid and food and resources that can be delivered there. Right? It isn't that far off from our truth to their truth.
Mm-hmm.
We don't live in that different of a society.
Except on Padre Island, very expensive real estate.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. That's true. They wouldn't want to corral everyone there because that's too popular of a vacation spot. But
like Big Ben or somewhere.
Yeah, well, and I imagine that at one point in time, the Gaza Strip was a beautiful place.
Yeah, the density of the population is so. I mean, it just buildings next, just almost touching each other. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anything else in current events you want to talk about?
That one's been all-consuming from my point of view as of late. Just because, well, I mean, I have a lot of sympathy for people on the other side of it too, right? Like, some folks who are really good friends of mine. In fact, some people who've invested in Rivet have family who lives in Israel still,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one of my first thoughts was, oh my God, I hope his family's okay. And luckily they are out of the conflict zone. But
For how long?
Yeah, but for how long? Yeah, I don't know. This to me is too solemn of a moment to really feel that passionate about any of the other issues going on right now, even though there are tons, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, I mean just that thing that we mentioned last week about the all media making a pact to just to hold a certain line and to all report the same thing, trying to kill any kind of independent journalism.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, for what it's worth, anybody watching who wants to find some good clear-headed reporting on this should check out what Glenn Greenwald's been saying. The System Update show he runs on Rumble has been very, very thoughtful about its approach to discussing this, and has informed a lot of views that I've expressed as well on the subject. So if anybody out there wants to hear more and is interested in looking at this from outside of the perspective of one side is right or the other side is right, and wants to think about this from a more humanitarian angle, that's where I would head.
like I said, it's so black and white and so not black and white at the same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the important thing to remember is that people dying is bad for business. People dying at the hands of state actors or non-state actors who are engaged in violence is bad for business. The only way to end war is, as a concept, is to enable free exchange and to empower free exchange. That's what blockchain's about. That's what decentralization is about. Is devolving that power away from the unilateral forcible exchange that is war, right? It's not about looting. It's not about raiding. It's about mutually beneficial exchange. And that's the system that we should be fighting for.
It is. It definitely is. All right. Well,
Yep.
It was good hanging out.
Yeah, I think this. Normally we would push to the end, but I think that taking the time to talk about anything else right now would be to minimize the gravity of this. So, if anybody here was planning on listening for the next half hour, I would say go educate yourself on this some more and really think about it from the perspective of a humanitarian as opposed to a partisan. And
also, Kennedy is running as an independent.
Oh yeah, that is some good news.
So that's a little bit of a shake-up to the system.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing to see.
Yeah.
It'll be also interesting to see what his take on this is.
Yeah. All right, y'all take care. Amanda's gonna.
Yep, we'll catch you all next time.
Bye.